Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Keegan. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave your opinions down in the comment section. Trippie Redd, A Love Letter to You 4. Michael White IV, Trippie Redd, American rapper, singer, yet again still extremely busy in the music scene. 2 albums and 4 mixtapes in the span of a bit over 2 years, not to mention plenty of features and collabs. Trippie has given us a lot to digest in such a short amount of time. I recently covered his Question Mark album a couple of months ago, and it was kind of underwhelming. If you want to check it out, there's a card in the corner for you to check out. Anyway, I always enjoyed Trippie's mixtapes over his 2 albums. They sounded a lot less restricted, and he always had more breathing room there. I've really enjoyed every A Love Letter to You mixtape to date, but now he's 4 installments in. It's a tough 21 tracks bordering on an hour of material. Let's see if it matches up as I review this mixtape track by track. I'll start with the singles, with there being 3 of them. The first one being Love Me More, featuring a very soothing synth melody and a nice skittering trap drum. Something Trippie can always sound good on. His flow is very standard, very traditional, very groovy as well. The song is structured around its short length, a repeated chorus and only a single verse, which isn't a bad thing at all, honestly. I think it works pretty well. Lyrically, it's kind of greedy, just about how he wants this girl to love him more and how she shouldn't be asking for anything else because he's right there with him. It's a standard Trippie song, not bad, but not the most groundbreaking thing either. What I expected from a mixtape thing. The second single, Death with DaBaby, feels very fitting to its title. It feels extremely aggressive, mean, and tough, with both rappers putting on a deeper voice to their flow alongside a very gritty, slightly distorted bass. DaBaby really stands out against this instrumental. It sounds like something straight out of his Kirk album. Trippie also gives a good performance, but yet again it's nothing special. Lyrically, it's exactly what it sounds like. Essentially, if you say something wrong to them, you gon' die. Honestly, it's kind of a banger, and shows how a pretty good amount of chemistry between the two. It's a good song. And the third and final single, Who Needs Love, is kind of a throwback to some of Trippie's bigger hits, especially lyrically, where he raps and sings about how he doesn't want to think about his past relationships, essentially asking the question, who needs love? Sonically, the song is very similar to Love Me More, aside from being a bit more of a mellow cut, which I personally enjoy more. Trippie really feels like he's expressing a lot of emotion, and his voice has a lot of power behind it. It's a pretty fantastic song. So far, these singles are already better than most of the stuff on Exclamation Mark, so I'm looking forward to the rest of this mixtape. Now for the rest of the songs. Lorray, the opener, named after his ex, Coi Leray, who was featured on his Exclamation Mark album. Trippie knew how to start off in the project then, and he really hasn't lost that idea on here either. Just a relaxing acoustic guitar and Trippie giving his 2 cents about the situation, while giving a heart-wrenching performance at the end of the track. It really reminds me of something off of XXXTentacion's album 17, with how it sounds and how it feels. Honestly, this blew my mind when I first heard it. I loved it so much and still do to this day. Wonderful song. Lovesick sits right in that middle between the mellow, slower, Who Needs Love type of track, and the more higher tempo Love Me More sort of track. Trippie's voice is very lovely this time. It's quite heartfelt and genuine. I love the subtle guitar playing, and rather gentle melodic synth drum. Lyrically, Trippie is apologizing to his girl after a fight, telling her to forget about what he said and get it out of her head. The song is also rather simply structured, repetitive chorus and refrain, 1 verse. Also, the random fireworks scattered throughout the track are a bit of an awkward touch, but overall it's still another nice song. Real Feel, the longest song on this album at 4 minutes 19 seconds, definitely feels like it. The song just really drags on throughout its very repetitive chorus and overly long verses. Lyrically, the song is essentially about how other opinions outside don't matter, and if his feelings real, that's all that matters. Well, hopefully that applies musically as well, because this is the first song I just don't care for. Trippie's always been better at bite-sized songs. His style gets extremely boring for longer periods of time, so unfortunately this one's a no for me. This Ain't That with Lil Mosey is one of the songs I'm kind of not feeling. First off, the instrumental is very boring and actually makes this song drag way longer than it should. The chorus is also really repetitive, and not in the good kind of way. Trippie's probably the best part of the song, delivering a decent performance, although at times he holds his notes a bit too long and makes his voice a bit irritating. However, Lil Mosey comes through with singing, which took me completely off guard. I didn't even recognize him until the last bit of his verse. Currently my least favorite from this mixtape. Six Kiss with the late Juice WRLD and YNW Melly, on the other hand, is very engaging and fun. No artist overstays their welcome on their respective verses, and they all put on an entertaining performance. Juice WRLD keeps a nice melody on his verse, and YNW Melly keeps a nice bit of anger in his voice. Trippie comes through at the end with a good varied verse. Lyrically, it's the same with all 3 artists, rap crooning about style, relationships, and money, but every artist has their own unique cadence that makes it interesting. Fun song, check it out. Till the End of Time puts Trippie in a bit of a different instrumental, which has a bit more of a pop rock feel, especially with the calm drum work and mellow acoustic guitar. It almost reminds me of Falling Down, the collab with the late Lil Peep and X. Trippie even has a similar melody on this song as well. Lyrically, Trippie wants this girl to let him inside, which can be seen as a sexual metaphor, but it seems to be most likely about getting back with this girl in a relationship. It may be one of my favorites from this mixtape. It's a very good song. You Deserve It with Chris King and Quanta has more of a folk feel to it, with Trippie handling the chorus. The chorus itself is quite repetitive after some time. Chris King, however, really steals the show. His voice just melds with the acoustics perfectly, and he also has a wonderful flow to boot. Quanta also isn't that bad either. His voice has less chemistry with the instrumental, but he rides it with a varied flow really well. Lyrically, just as the title implies, they think they are indebted to this woman and how she deserves it all. Not a bad song, but it just drags on too long for me to completely enjoy it. Hate Me with Youngboy Never Broke Again brings Trippie back to his natural style in a wonderful way. The song features one of my all-time favorite things for rappers to do, that being go back and forth with the bars, and Trippie and Youngboy's styles blend together really well. They both sound so carefree and are having a good time. Lyrically, it's about both rappers addressing their feelings on fake love, which goes great with a nice R&B influenced beat. Not a bad song at all. All For Me with Smokepurp has yet another generic instrumental, but it's been accented with a nice piano. Smokepurp being smothered in auto-tune almost sounds like Tory Lanez. He really hasn't been sounding like himself in the past year. Trippie's also got a nice performance, but what really caught me off guard is the near minute-long X vocal passage at the end of the song, just out of nowhere. Lyrically, they talk about love, loyalty, and relationships, and X talks about how he's been lied to because of those things. Bit of a generic song, not quite for me. Sickening with Tory Lanez is probably one of the few songs on here I would actually call boring. Trippie sounds completely dead on his chorus, which is way too boring and comatose. In fact, Tory is easily the most engaging part of the song, but the instrumental completely breaks down during his verse to the point where he sounds way out of place. Like he doesn't belong here at all. It's essentially an even more generic version of All For Me. Probably one of my least favorites here. The Grinch is a nice little turnaround on this mixtape, switching to a bit more of a bass distorted style, and more of an aggressive and deep delivery, really reminding me of some Ski Mask. This track goes so hard, it is impossible for me not to just bang my head along with it. It's a nice change of pace for this mixtape, and even though it's only a minute and a half long, it's still a nice song. RMP, which stands for Richard Millie Playing, which is a type of watch, and there is just so much to this song I don't like. First off, this god-awful chorus, which shows Trippie trying to do a bit of a falsetto chorus, but it's very cringy and grating. The instrumental is very slow and boring, especially with Trippie's flow not being the most engaging either. Lyrically, it's just simply about his lavish lifestyle, dissing people and smoking dope, standard stuff. But the execution is way below anything enjoyable, one of the worst here by far. M's with Lil Yachty and Pierre Bourne on production actually has one of my favorite Pierre beats. I always thought his beats were very skeletal and boring, but this one is very perky and happy. Trippie and Pierre both sound okay over this instrumental. Their styles are a little bit more darker than this beat, it doesn't quite fit perfectly. While Yachty is on this song, he only handles the chorus, which is such a disappointment. I would have loved to hear Yachty spit a verse over this beat. Regardless, not a bad song. Bust Down Deux with French up-and-coming rapper UD was certainly a surprise in more ways than one. First off, the beat is very heavy and works well with Trippie's delivery and cadence. His chorus gets a bit annoying over a bit of time, but UD absolutely snaps, basically talking about how he's not in the hood anymore, making legal money and doing business, which, good on him. Definitely a surprising moment on this mixtape, but a very welcome one. Good song. The Jungle Book with Lil Wop unfortunately only uses Lil Wop for one chorus, which sucks because this beat was just made for him with how raspy his voice is and how powerful the bass was at the same time. Trippie handles the rest of the song and he does fine, but he doesn't compliment how heavy this beat is well, just performing normally with just a little bit more energy, but not enough to make the song a keeper. Also, no lyrical references to the Jungle Book, unfortunately, so kind of a disappointment. Chosen starts off the positive final stretch of this mixtape. Trippie's flow is on point this time, he changes it off and it makes it fun. The beat perfectly complements Trippie's performance with a gritty bass and a captivating trap drum. Lyrically, it's all the generic stuff, dissing people, being with women and money. Honestly, at times it was bordering on filler, but the song is overall really catchy and fun to listen to that I think I'm going to keep it around. Abandoned with Mariah the Scientist is the closest thing we get to a ballad on this mixtape, with the only thing accenting the vocals is a very gentle acoustic guitar. I've always loved Trippie on these songs. He sounds genuinely heartbroken as he sings about how he can't eat or sleep lately. Mariah's performance is also very lovely. I think she would have been a bit better over a more R&B influenced instrumental from earlier in the mixtape, but this is still good, honestly, it's probably one of my favorites. And finally, the closer, Can You Rap Like Me Part 2 with Chris King, the sequel to his Can You Rap Like Me song on the original A Love Letter to You mixtape. This song is just so fitting for the closer. Both Trippie and Chris have a very clear voice and just show off their flow and talent tenfold over this song, and over an instrumental ripped straight out of the 90s. While it is only 2 verses, it doesn't need to be any longer for a song like this, or have a hook or anything. This is a very positive way to end this mixtape. Overall, this isn't my favorite Trippie project. That would be A Love Letter to You 3, But in all honesty, this isn't that bad of a downgrade from the predecessor. The highs are so high they rival amongst some of Trippie's best songs from the past. And while the lows are more frequent, some of them aren't even bad, they're just underwhelming. Glad that Trippie came back with this after exclamation mark. I'm feeling about a 7 out of 10 on this mixtape. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.